I was walking down that quiet, tree-lined street when I saw it. This sprawling old house, its ivy-covered walls whispering tales of a bygone era. I had never seen anything quite like it in my hometown. It seemed so familiar, yet alien at the same time. The address on the sign read 234 Elmwood Avenue. I couldn't help but feel drawn to it, as if it was calling me in from afar. My eyes were fixed on those grand windows, each one like a secret waiting to be unlocked. And then something caught my attention. A small ad posted by the side of the door. It read, "Need a responsible student to look after my home while I'm away for 2 weeks." The pay was decent, and with finals just around the corner, it seemed perfect. I stepped up to the front door, my hand poised on the handle. Inside were hundreds upon hundreds of porcelain dolls. Everywhere you looked, they were there, dressed in lace and silk, their eyes gazing back at me like 1,000 pairs of tiny, glassy mirrors. It was overwhelming, but also mesmerizing. I pushed open the door, feeling the cool air inside contrast with the warmth of the afternoon. "Hello?" I called out cautiously. No response. But then a soft laugh echoed through the hall. It was faint, like a memory of something long forgotten. As I entered the living room, my eyes were immediately drawn to the doll collection in the center of the room. There they stood, 42 dolls arranged neatly on a low table, each one with its own unique charm and expression. "Goodness," I whispered to myself, admiring their delicate beauty. My heart sank when I remembered rule number 1. Every morning, I was supposed to check the number of dolls in the living room. There had to be exactly 42, no more, no less. If any were missing, they insisted on being noticed. What if something went wrong? As evening approached, I recalled another rule. If a doll moved or blinked, you were supposed to smile at it. They were very sensitive and didn't like seeing unhappy faces. Maybe that would make them feel better. I sat down in the living room with a book, determined to get through some reading before bed. But the dolls kept catching my attention, those glassy eyes following me around, almost as if they were watching for signs of distress. What secrets did these porcelain faces hold? The next morning, I woke up early and rushed to check on the dolls. 42, just like before. I breathed a sigh of relief and started my day. When I returned from my afternoon classes, it was already getting dark outside. I rushed home and headed straight for the living room. The moment I entered, something felt different. The air seemed heavier, more oppressive. I took a deep breath and began my routine check. There they are, I said to myself, relieved that all 42 dolls were in place. But then, the sound of footsteps echoed from somewhere else in the house. It was a slow, deliberate step, like someone, or something, was walking through the walls themselves. My heart raced as I quickly moved back into the living room. That night, at exactly midnight, I followed rule number 9 and started up the old gramophone. The music played softly but steadily, filling the house with a soothing melody. It was beautiful, and it worked. Until 3 a.m., when suddenly the needle snapped. There was no more sound. Oh no, I groaned to myself. Now what? The silence that followed was deafening. It felt as if the entire house held its breath in anticipation. But then, tiny, rhythmic footsteps began to fill the void. Hundreds of them. Every one of those porcelain dolls had somehow managed to get up and move. I sprinted back to the living room, my heart pounding. There were only 5 dolls left on the table. The other 37 were scattered throughout the dark corridors, their presence felt in the shadows. It was like a nightmare come alive. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, staring at the 5 remaining dolls. Their eyes seemed to follow me as I tried to figure out what had happened. How could this many have disappeared so quickly? Were they alive somehow? I decided to confront them head on. "All right," I said loudly. "What's going on here?" But instead of answering, the room grew even quieter. The only sound was my own voice bouncing off the walls. Maybe if I just smiled and showed them that everything was okay, they would calm down. I forced a smile and turned to face one of the dolls, but its eyes remained cold and unyielding. "Please, don't be scared." As I turned back to the last few remaining dolls, something caught my eye. A single doll, standing slightly apart from the others. Its eyes flickered just for a moment, like it was trying to communicate with me. "You know what? Let's play this game your way," I said, taking a step closer. "I'll smile at you if you blink back." To my surprise, the doll did indeed blink. Slowly, almost as if hesitating. And then it smiled back at me. It was like a flicker of hope in the darkness, a small victory amidst chaos. I couldn't help but laugh softly at how absurd this all felt. Well, looks like we have something in common. I made my way to the last doll on the table, determined to finish this strange game. It was the smallest one, almost hidden by a lace skirt, but its eyes were wide and curious. "You know," I said softly, "I think you're not just porcelain anymore." The doll blinked again, almost as if it understood me. That night taught me more than any book ever could. It was about facing the unknown, embracing the strange, and sometimes finding a bit of yourself in even the most unlikely places. And you know what? I think we're going to be good friends. So there it is, my story of 234 Elmwood Avenue, where porcelain came to life, laughter turned into fear, and in the end, a little hope managed to survive.